Before we start, I want to mention that I'm talking solely about the movie. The book has some differences that I'm aware of, but the way that the media hit me has mostly been the movie and not the book, although I may get around to reading it one day. With that said, I know what you're thinking. The Long Walk is not a sports movie at all, but I ask you to hear me out here for a second. The video will contain all the movie spoilers, so you have been warned. Now, The Long Walk is a fictional movie about a dystopian future where 50 young men are forced to walk for a promise of getting one wish that could turn the entire fortune of their family. The wish could be literally anything. They must maintain a speed of 3 miles per hour or else they get a warning. Just like baseball, 3 warnings, you're out. For good in this movie's case. Although that's the motivation of each character walking, the story revolves around the relationships built between many of these men in the walk as they find out each other's why for being part of the long walk and what each one of them want to achieve, whether it be a selfish motivation, revenge, or something more meaningful, such as proving yourself to your bastard father. As the movie progresses, we see each member of the walk fall one by one for different reasons, whether it be illness, rebellion, self-realization of a bigger purpose, or simply task is just too much for them to continue. This continues until only one stands at the end. And it is quite the ride, honestly. And this is one of the few movies to give me an actual panic attack just watching it when I saw the uphill scene. Now that you have settled the premise of this movie, let me tell you a bit about myself to start connecting some dots. I am a pro wrestling commentator and I've been attending pro wrestling school for a little bit over a decade now. I began wanting to be a part of this by being a professional wrestling manager. For the unaware, the manager are the characters that simply exist to boost up the credentials of the person that they represent. They go out there, they talk up the person they represent. Sometimes they have to take bumps or put themselves in harm's way. So I did have to learn how to do the physical part in the ring. When I began, it was a much different atmosphere than it is now. I can only speak for my school, but when I started, you had to complete 150 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, burpees, each on 10 different days. Once you did that, then you would be welcomed into the ring to begin your actual training. And as I came to learn, this was actually just a test to welcoming you into the brotherhood. I did not do too well on my conditioning, and I was, and to some extent still am, very out of shape. I've made some progress since then, and then some. Through this 10-year journey, I have seen some crazy things, and I've actually made a lot of amazing relationships and friends, and this right here is where I feel the comparisons begin. While my perspective is solely the pro wrestling world, I feel like a lot of pro athletes will be able to pull from this comparison and kind of feel like they understand what I'm talking about. So if you are a pro athlete, I hope that maybe this comparison, you're going to be like, holy crap, this is what it feels like. And maybe it doesn't help you feel as alone as a lot of athletes do tend to feel, especially because of how dog eat dog the pro sports world is. Let's start from the beginning. Walking into a building full of strangers can be daunting. It's like being the transfer kid into a new school. Now, the cool thing is that these people share the same passion with you in something others might not understand. But not everyone will have the same amount of passion that one needs to succeed in the world of competitive sports. Sometimes, though, passion is just not enough in order to make it to the end of the long walk, as we will come to learn through this video. As soon as the walk begins, that is when your mettle begins to be tested. You start meeting new personalities and sharing their stories, how they got into the sport of your choice. You share moments that only you two understand for wanting to chase greatness in something that you've dreamt of as a kid. You begin crafting memories of things that you will hopefully talk about in 10 years' time when you reminisce about the good old days. But then the unthinkable happens. One by one, you fall. For one reason or another, the end can truly come for you at any time. I've met many people in my journey at Reality of Wrestling, and while again, I can only speak for myself, I feel like a lot of people in athletics can really relate to this. For the remainder of this video, I'm going to compare most named characters we see fall in the long walk and how I relate to them in separate instances of what I've been through in pro wrestling, while I'm sure other athletes will be able to relate in their own sport. The first ones I want to talk about are Curly and Ewing. In the story, Curly gets a Charlie horse and is unable to continue even with getting warnings to keep going. Then Ewing himself passes out due to exhaustion and having a seizure. Curly is a version of me that I have felt in my life, actually. It's the ones that bit off and bit more than they could chew. In my own journey, I did start too early. I had to get steroid shots to calm my muscles because I wasn't able to move after my first day of conditioning. I was 280 pounds without any prior athletic background. So yeah, that didn't end well. I was lucky in my case because I was able to continue pushing through, but I have seen many people take these experiences and not finish their walk. Like Curly, sometimes the injury is something that takes you out. And like Ewing, sometimes you push yourself too far, or there's a prior medical issue to where your body just can't keep up. Next up is Rank Sanders. This one also hits home. I haven't mentioned Barkovich by name yet, but this is the perfect moment to bring him up. Barkovich is probably one of the most tragic characters in this story, at least to me, because I have seen this person in real life many times. Before his own death and later on in the movie, Barkovich is just a straight up bully. He makes fun of Rank for his name, which then forces Rank to retaliate to try and swing and miss at Barkovich, which in turn ends up being his demise. And in sports, you really have to practice keeping your composure. Some people may unfortunately just truly be assholes, and you are stooping to their level by throwing a punch. And it is why I have immense respect for athletes that are able to keep such a level head during high pressure situations and when their buttons are really being pushed. Due to Barkovich's bullying, Sanders falls because he got caught, if you will, and the coach kicked him out of the team for being violent. But on the walk, you see it after he falls when he throws the punch, he can't get back up, and therefore he is eliminated. This now gets to part of the movie that gave me a genuine panic attack watching it. I'm not kidding. I was gripping my seat as hard as I could. I was lucky that I was watching this on my own for the first time in theaters because my fiance would probably have had to walk me out of the theater if she knew how badly I was panicking. The remaining walkers have to walk an uphill battle and still maintain a certain speed or else they get eliminated. This scene hurt my heart because this is the part of my brain went to the days where the coaches push you to your absolute limits. Cardio days were not my favorite, and to this day, they're still not. But all my coaches can attest to this. I was always the last guy in line when we had to do laps around the building, and I have actually seen people be exiled for refusing to come in on cardio days. Because ultimately, I agree with the coaches. You can't pick and choose what you want to do and get to the end of the road. It's either do it all, or you don't belong with the upper echelon. In this part of the movie, we end up seeing, I believe, 14 people go down. It sucks, but unfortunately, that's part of being an elite athlete. After the hill scene, we see Harkness, the guy that wanting to write a book about his experience in the long walk, finally fall. Luckily, in the real world, if you leave the athletic field, you don't die for that. So if that were to happen in this reality, he could still absolutely write his book. And while I may still be in it, this one could apply to me because seeing this movie motivated me to write this script and make this video and maybe give you a bit of a look into the mind of what it's like to see people not make it in the sport, since we always see the story of those that made it for the most part. We now see the brotherhood get stronger between the group, and as a considerable amount of time has passed in the story, the eliminations start getting far more emotional. We have seen potential prior medical issues eliminating someone before, but Hank's death is far more emotional. I haven't been touching on the relationship aspects of this movie here because the previous deaths have been smaller characters we barely got to spend time with. But I think Hank is the first one we see that really tugs at the heartstrings. Hank's exhaustion catches up to him, and watching Hank be eliminated was like seeing one of my best friends that I had been rolling next to for years and improving their craft one day just up and leave because they were not able to continue. Whether it be that they found out wrestling wasn't for them or because they just didn't have the resources to continue. We now continue on with only 6 people left in the walk at this point. Ray, Peter, Barkovich, Stebbins, Art, and Parker. The next man to go is Barkovich. Remember earlier when I said that he was a bully and I didn't like the guy? Well, this is the redemption in the story, at least for me. When the group is asked to make a pact and pay respects to Hank's wife, Barkovich is left out of the pact, which makes him feel left out, and he admits that he feels guilty about Rank's death earlier. Now, I have seen sports change people into being better people, but sometimes the guilt and admissions of your past are just too much to continue. Barkovich takes himself out and is then finished off by the guards, but at least he got to admit that he had some sense before his passing. I also have met many people who later admit to me that they regret their actions in wrestling and won't be coming back. Granted, some of these I did feel like they were genuine apologies, but others I don't feel belonged along with the brotherhood that we had built. Parker is the one that I will admit might be a bit of a stretch for this comparison, but this is my perception, and the beautiful thing about art is that it is up to interpretation. Parker is the one in the movie that snaps and takes a gun from a soldier to shoot him down and then does the same to himself, not letting someone take it from him. Parker is the one I actually have massive respect for in the movie, and the one that I hope more people would be in sports. Parker, to me, ends up being the one that tells a coach off and bets on himself. I have seen people just not mesh well with styles of teaching. And the great thing about wanting to be a better athlete is that there's many people to learn from. And just because one way doesn't work for you, doesn't mean another won't work. Parker took it upon himself to go out on his own terms and left the walk unsuccessful here, but who knows if another walk would have been a better road for him. Now, 4 people remain, and Art is the next one to go. This one we've already seen before in a similar vein to Hank, except he made it further. It'd be a shame not to include Art in this list since he gives the cross to Ray, and that's his gift to the walkers as a motivational push as their friend to be with them to the end. I have trinkets of all of my friends, and that's why I always tell them that if they have stickers as merchandise, I will buy them. Because if their walk ends, I will always have them with me because they were a part of my journey and I will never want to forget them. As a matter of fact, I have maybe 4 or 5 things up here on display, and I'm literally never going to get rid of them. With 3 people remaining, let's tackle something that has become a massive talking point in recent times, at least in wrestling. The topic of nepotism. It is at this point in the movie that Stebbins reveals that he is the bastard son of the Major, the main antagonist of the movie. He is doing the walk so the Major can recognize him as a son. This one is how I personally feel about nepotism in sports. Will it get you more opportunities? Perhaps that is true. But a true top-tier athlete shines with talent. For as many top-tier athletes we have seen succeed at a high level, there is a vast ocean of talent that the general public does not know that didn't make it to a high level. And I also have experience of making it further in my personal career than some of these people. As a matter of fact, I began my journey on the same day as a second-generation athlete, and they didn't make it past 6 months. And here I am, 10 years later. Now, I'm not denying that nepotism exists, but credit should be given where credit is due. There's always going to be 2 sides to all stories, and the second generations or further that didn't make it to the end, like Stebbins, should also be remembered as individuals rather than their lineage. That is, however, just my opinion on the matter. And now we have come to the end. The final 2, Peter and Ray. The reason I want to point this final one out is because these 2 represent to me those people who you make a promise to. The ones that were fighting alongside you to get to the end, but their body quits on them through the process. And you will try your best to succeed, and your success will also be in honor of them and your bond that you made through the years of hard work. Ray wants to use his wish to create change by killing the Major. And once Ray falls and Peter is declared the winner, he uses his wish in order to get a gun and take down the Major. He completed his best friend's wish, and as far as this story goes, that's the best thing that he could have done, in my opinion, at least. He completed his best friend's wish, and as far as the comparisons goes, I know that I've made some promises to people that I hope to be able to accomplish one day, just like Peter does. Then he keeps walking past the crowd into God knows where, and to me, that was Peter being the winner, being the final contestant, making it to the highest sports level, NBA, NFL, WWE, World Cup, you name it. The goal I myself am still trying to achieve one day, and the goal I've seen many of my friends make it to already. But while they're on their own long walk, I know that they have seen their fair share of fallen friends as well. The beautiful thing about these comparisons that I've been making throughout this video is that in real life, none of these people I've lost are actually dead. But it doesn't hurt any less that people I wanted to get to the next level with are no longer there and our connection that we made is gone. Severing that tie from our mutual passion has definitely affected my mental health because I always want to see everyone succeed. However, there's many scenarios of why people are successful or not. Passion, drive, health, favoritism, nepotism perhaps. But ultimately, it comes down to how long you're able to walk. Because I believe consistent growth is what will get you to the big dream that you always want to achieve. Especially in the sports world. So if being an elite athlete is what you want, don't forget to always do your best and just keep walking.